Cases of police misconduct are on the rise in Detroit this year. The allegations are ranging from a sex crime on duty to embezzlement. Chief Ralph Godby says he's not putting up with misconduct, and he reveals for the first time that a new task force has been formed to fight public corruption.
For personnel matters, suspension without pay recommendations from the Chief of Police.
It's the regular Thursday meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and two more Detroit cops are on the hot seat for alleged misconduct. Chief Ralph Godby is asking the board to suspend both without pay. Did you embezzle some money from the Detroit Police Department?
No.
One of them is Officer Kim Mosby Colbert, exposed by the Channel 7 investigators last month. Mosby Colbert is accused of padding her overtime pay to the tune of $70,000 over the last 3.5 years while working as the timekeeper at the Southwest District. Also on the board's agenda today, Officer Richard Harris. He's accused of sexually assaulting a woman in the backseat of his patrol car after pulling her over in a traffic stop. And that's just the tip of the problem. Action News has learned that 20 officers have been suspended for misconduct so far this year, the most in at least 5 years. So do you think you have more officers making bad decisions, or you're just catching more of it?
I think it may be a combination of both.
Chief Ralph Godby says in some cases, good, honest officers are coming forward to report the misconduct.
What we are creating is a culture to where good officers don't want to work side by side with criminals. That's the bottom line.
In the weeks ahead, two more officers will be coming before the board with a request from the chief for a suspension without pay. Officer Tambora Jackson, suspected of fraud, accused of selling fake police reports claiming identity theft to help people clean up their credit problems. And Officer John Talbert, accused of running a license plate with no legitimate reason as a favor for a friend. He's already been charged with a felony. Some of these are actual criminal incidents.
Yes.
These are not officers that just had kind of a bad day.
Exactly. And
this is intentional stuff.
And for me, as the leader of the department, it's important to make the distinction between mistakes of the head and mistakes of the heart.
Godby says Detroit officers are often faced with split-second life-or-death decisions, and honest mistakes happen. He doesn't want to create an environment where officers are afraid to do their jobs because they might make a mistake.
But when you get into theft, when you get into falsification of documents, when you get into protecting criminals and doing things of that nature, that's not a mistake of the head. In those cases, we're going to go to the end of the earth to try and catch those officers, prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, and make sure they don't have the honor of wearing a Detroit police badge anymore.
Chief Godby says the department recently put a risk management program in place to identify officers that might be having problems in their lives before they get into serious trouble.
In the instances where we can catch somebody before they get on that slippery slope, I think we have a moral obligation as a leadership team to do that.
The Board of Police Commissioners discussed today's cases behind closed doors because the officers involved requested it, and they have that right under the law. Then the board came out, announced their decision, suspending both officers without pay, just as Chief Godby had requested.
Scott, the chief said some of these officers are being turned in by other officers. Is the blue curtain coming down?
That's what it sounds like. There is this unwritten rule that cops don't tell on cops, but according to what Godby says, that's starting to change now. For one thing, when one officer gets in serious trouble, they're all painted with the same brush, and then it makes it hard for them to do their jobs.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott.